everybody, this is Kohdok here, and as you can see, I managed to get some Yokai Watch toys before Christmas, and before the release date on January 1st. Some might say it was a pleasant surprise. Me, I figured it was their plan all along, if the sheer amount of product they had at my local Toys R Us was any indication. So, this is the line of Hasbro stuff. Well, except for the Gapori file, that is still a Japanese item, but I have it on here because it matches today's theme, which, in case you can't tell by now, is Koma-san. There's a lot of Koma-san here. I got Koma-san, the small Metal Moments figure. I got Koma-san on my screen here. I got the big Koma-san figure, and I got the Koma-san Gapori file. So, we're going to be looking at Koma-san today, and as well as other Hasbro products, such as other medals and the watch. And because I own the regular Bandai watch, we will get to make an adequate comparison to them. So, let's get into it. So first off, let's compare the two watches. This one here is the Hasbro watch, and as you can see, it is quite a bit thicker from the Bandai watch. Another thing the Bandai watch has that the Hasbro watch doesn't have is it actually has an on and off switch. Then again, Bandai is kind of in the habit of putting on and off switch on everything. Even like the Power Rangers guns have on and off switches. So both of them have the pop-up lens. So that's one thing you're going to notice right away is the Hasbro watch is actually really loud compared to the Bandai watch. It's a lot louder, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a mixed blessing, certainly, because having it louder is very nice. It's easier to understand. It's going to be a lot easier to film, but at the same time, the audio gets a little bit crunchy. The Hasbro toy also comes with the lens, but unlike the Bandai one, it's made out of kind of a softer plastic and actually has a little trouble with the latching mechanism. It's fairly minor. The Hasbro watch also does not have a flashlight, unlike the Bandai watch, which does. It can still make the sound, though. I'm sure you can tell how much louder that is than... Yeah, I'm not going to adjust the audio there. So the Hasbro watch, it also has larger watch dials. It has a lighter color to it. And it also has all of the bumps over here to read the medals are all left justified. Although, one other issue I have with it is how the watch band is done. It's a single band of plastic that runs along the watch and actually goes under some hooks, unlike the hinges that were used for the Japanese watch. Now, I imagine that was another way they saved money to make this thing like only $20 versus like the $35 of the Bandai watch, but the Bandai watch, the hinges go, is I can actually coil it down into a smaller form like that. Like, if I wanted to throw it on like a lanyard or something, I can make it kind of smaller, make it more of a handheld device than a watch. So I really like that. Also, the way they pack the Hasbro watch, it has made the watch band into just this horrible, gnarled mess, whereas with the Bandai watch, it is nice, clean, and straight. So the Hasbro watch, it's definitely a bit cheaper, but it does have the advantage of being louder, and it also has the advantage of being able to read the English medals. So here comes the Bushinyan that came with the watch. Oh, it's a little bit difficult because of how the alignment is. Ah, and that is what happens if it loads it incorrectly. Now, you can't load it improperly, but it just kind of goes, Unlike the Bandai watch, which just flat out says, that's not how it's done. This guy's just kind of a weird suggestion here. If they'd said, that's not it, that probably would have been better. So let's try again with the Bushinyan. So yeah, you can hear how loud that is. However, Bushinyan's second quip has a bit of a delay compared to the Japanese one. Yeah, with the Bandai watch, it snaps straight to the quote. So they've also kind of changed the artwork on here. I'm not sure about this. I'll get into that later when I talk about medals. Alright, let's talk medals. So, these are the Hasbro medals. These are pretty much identical in size and shape and look to the Japanese medals. Jibanyan here has different artwork, but that's because that's the version that it comes exclusively with the watch. There actually is a way to get this Jibanyan medal in the English format, and that is by buying the Medal Moments Jibanyan, who comes with the regular one. That's also true of like Komasan and Tattletale, although I actually managed to get Tattletale's normal medal through the booster packs. Yeah, the booster packs. They are 3B booster packs. You get 3 for $3.99, so you're paying basically $1 per medal. That's not too bad. Although, I would like to point out a few differences these medals have. First of all, the Jibanyan, the Japanese Jibanyan, has his name written there. It might be a little hard to tell with the neon letters, but that says Jibanyan in katakana. It also has a collector number. Jibanyan is collector number 3. Those aren't present on the Hasbro medals for some reason. There is neither a name nor a collector number. Then again, Bandai did away with collector numbers after a while, although they could have done like the dex number for the character, but at the same time, yeah, it's not even just because this Jibanyan's a promotional one. My Pandanoko doesn't have a collector number either. So, it has to do with, the collector number was dropped from the Japanese version, so that could be why it wasn't in the Hasbro version, but why is the Hasbro version missing the names? That is really weird. I mean, I've done it. I've taken a medal and made my own medal and put a name on it. I mean, it's not that hard. It would take like 30 seconds to do in Adobe InDesign. Why isn't it here? I mean, I guess you could argue it's because it's released for multiple languages, but that has no point because the Yokai watch shouts their name in English. It's ridiculous. Also, the Jibanyan over here is holofoil. Now, I haven't seen any holofoil versions of the Hasbro medals yet, which actually kind of puzzles me because holofoil, the way the holofoil pops really is a very attractive way of selling the medals and properly indicating rarity. Whereas for this one, you just kind of have to take the list inside and take their word for it on how rare your medal is. But the holofoil, it's an attractive feature. Like all the promo medals should be holofoil and stuff like that. I have a ton of Japanese holofoil medals, but I haven't seen any American ones. I mean, this could have been a cost reduction feature, but no, these stickers are super cheap. It wouldn't have been that hard to do. So, I'm not sure why the name's missing. I'm not sure why they're not doing holofoil there. But, one other fun thing is, let's take a look on the back. So, here is the American Jibanyan, and here's the Japanese one. You can see how they actually have different track alignments on here. The American one it's on the right here, but when you play it, it's on the left. And the one in Japan, it is centered. Although, well, that's kind of funny. They actually have the same kinds of bumps here. I can also notice a slight difference in the color of the plastic. This one has kind of a warmer color to it, but otherwise, these medals are pretty much exactly the same except for their placement. This is because a lot of like the Medal Moments characters actually give out medals that are a bit hard to find in Japan. Like Shogunyan over there is $200, or I guess I should use his proper name, Bushinyan, is like $200 because legend medals in Japan, except for Hanasakaji, are all crazy rare, whereas over here, Bushinyan is a whole lot easier to find. So I imagined there would have been like some kind of huge Japanese import movement, like I said before, or I guess that's what Hasbro feared, and that's why they did it this way, whereas the end result is actually, I can't use my huge collection on their watch because, haha, I said so. That's kind of annoying, although there's also the QR code. The Japanese one won't work, but the QR code here actually works with a couple of features. You can use it with the 3DS in order to get some extra play coins for the Crank-a-Kai to maybe unlock something good, and it also apparently works in a game for the smartphone, although I haven't really gone into detail on that. So, another quick comparison here. This is the English language Grumples, who is actually the only Eerie type to have been released so far in America, and this is the alternate color of Grumples' evolution. This one is called Eterna, so it's actually kind of a gag that Grumples over here, this wrinkled old woman, turns into a cute, younger-looking woman by applying moisturizing cream. It's actually kind of funny, but again, there is no name, there is no collector number, whereas over here, this one is, it has the name, it has the collector number up at 145, so it took them quite a while to take away the collector number, and it has that holofoil background, so for the most part, the English medals seem to lack a little bit of the pizzazz that the Japanese ones do, although they still work just fine in the watch. And this is Metal Moments Komasan. The Metal Moments figures are small plastic figures that are actually made of a much harder and heavier plastic than I imagine. I mean, the eyebrows are still kind of soft, but the rest of the body is actually really kind of hard. It almost feels like resin, almost. But the idea behind the Metal Moments figures is that they actually have a slot in which they carry their regular metal. And as you can see, this is the Komasan, the normal Japanese Komasan, or the kind you would find in the booster pack, and it comes for free with the Komasan, the Metal Moments figure. So the figures are actually pretty cute. They've got a bunch of a lot of the basic characters. They got Robonyan, they got Jibanyan, and I'm still going to call them that because Nyan is the root name for a lot of characters. And they're cute. They're only about $5, which isn't bad considering you also get the metal, although I kind of wish they'd made it out of a softer, less resin-feeling plastic. That's kind of what I imagined it would be, and it's a little hard to get the metal to wedge in there when the plastic has like next to no give, although I guess the idea is that it'll hold it a lot better. And this is the changing figure. The changing figures are a whole lot bigger, way bigger than the Metal Moments figures, and they tend to come with a few action features. For example, Komasan, when you move his eyebrows, his eyes change to the sparkly ones from the regular ones, although you can actually kind of move one eyebrow just a little bit, and oh, Komasan, you look a little bit out of it, Zura. Oh well, but there's another feature in that you can actually hide an item in his satchel. In this case, if you fold up the satchel, you actually get a little ice cream cone with Whisper's face on it, and Komasan can actually hold the ice cream cone, because everybody knows Komasan loves ice cream, because that's how he was introduced. Although it also has one feature that I did not mention before. Like I said, it's a changing figure, and it's not just the eyes that change. If you raise his bindle and rotate his body around, he becomes a businessman! A businessman. Yeah. Well, the businessman look, it's a lot of us understand the context of the businessman look, but I think a lot of people who weren't familiar with the show when they saw that he transforms from a regular little guy into a guy with a business suit might get a little confused. Now, this side can hold the ice cream as well. And these changeable figures also come with their own metal, and it's a version of the metal I don't think we have ever seen outside of America. It is the businessman Komasan with the sparkly eyes holding the ice cream cone. There is one issue I take with the metal, however, and that is that it has the exact same set of bumps as the regular Komasan metal, meaning that if you put it into the watch, you don't get like any kind of special quote for using this special Komasan metal. And here's the thing, that's actually something that that a lot of the Bandai medals do, is the Type 0 medals. Jibanyan, one of his gimmicks is that he has 3 different medals, and each of them invoke a different quote when you put it into the watch. So that's a bit of a lost experience. Oh well, I really like this. I love the Business Komasan specials. You should love the Business Komasan specials too. So when it comes to how they have kind of a weird charm, I think this one really captures it. It's definitely cute, but for $15, whoa, $15 might be a little bit much for this, because aside from the eyebrows and the ability to rotate the torso and move the bindle, there's really not much flexibility to this character. So when it comes to action figures, I think 15 might be a bit much for this. So, I don't know. They also have plushes, and the plushes are $10, but the only plush they had at the Toys R Us I bought this at was Whisper, and I'm not going to spend $10 for a Whisper plush. Come on. So that's a look at Hasbro's toys. So they are a little different from the Japanese ones. They have been made a bit more inexpensive, although a couple of the ways they did so I actually kind of disagree with. But for the most part, the toys look fun. There's also going to be some plush toys, some more stuff to come out, although I imagine we won't be seeing the model kit, since a lot of that stuff is Bandai related. So it's got some decent merchandise. I guess I can recommend the watch. It has definitely some features that are useful, and you can scan the medals into the game and even share the codes with your friends, so the medals are definitely something worth trying to collect. The medals are also compatible with like the Japanese Gapori file, the Japanese medallion, so if you don't want to shell out the $15 for the English version, you can maybe pay the $2 or $3 to get one of these from an online site. So, until next time, this is Kohdok signing off. Merry Christmas!